Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Cube Ramblings. For me, it is Saturday night, September the 27th, 2014. This will be going up on its usual Sunday morning time slot. It has been a rather normal week for me. Not a whole lot has gone on. I've actually been I spent the last 3 or so hours trying to find some good news items to go over, and there's been a few things here and there that I might be able to talk about, but for the most part, I think this is going to be a particularly more rambly episode than normal, because there hasn't been a whole lot that's just sort of blown my skirt up, although there have been a few things that I've attempted to do this week, and I'd like to talk about a few things, so here goes nothing as usual. So today, let me tell you about my day. This morning I woke up with this sense that, I'm gonna get so much recorded. I'm gonna get everything done. I just need a few, just get some traction on things. It'll be great. And a few things have sort of conspired against me as far as the games go, because actually today would have been a really, really productive day as far as recording stuff, because I was able to clear out most of the things that I would normally do. But it's the games that I selected have decided to spurn me. So I thought, I've had my copy of Destiny here. Finally arrived in the mail. It arrived about a week or two ago in the mail, and I'm just now getting around to it. I had a pretty jam-packed last weekend with family stuff, and then this weekend I finally have a free weekend to myself for a change for a while. And so I thought, okay, I'll sit down, I'll get through Destiny, I'll just go do the tutorial, on my own, and then I will jump in and start recording stuff. And I attempted to record things for about, I would say, a good hour or so this morning, as far as Destiny goes, and I could only get through one mission and about 1/4 of the next mission after that. So I did the tutorial, everything was fine there. Went onto the tower thing, and that took me about 20 or 40 attempts to get on there to finally get a server that actually let me in. And then mission 2, it took me at least, I would say, 30 minutes to finally complete that mission. Not because it was hard. It wasn't hard at all. I didn't die at all. It was just the server kept kicking me, every 5 minutes. I get 5 minutes further into it, and it would kick me, and 5 minutes further, and it would kick me. It was just ridiculous. It was crazy pants. And I know that there's people who have played Destiny all the way through to the end, and are at their level cap and everything else. I commend those, because I can't play for more than 5 minutes without it. Just the damn server is just kicking me out. It's crazy. And then I tried recording, as I was recording that, I went on to the next mission, the third mission of the game, and I finally just gave up. I was like, you know what, screw this. I can't get any progress into it without it kicking me out. And then when you come back to the planet surface, you're back at the beginning again. You got to go through the whole thing again. It's a pain in the ass. And I know, they were having problems when it was first launched, and I can sort of understand that, because they didn't fully grasp the fact that there was going to be so many players at once in the game. But we're talking, it's been launched for about, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks now, if I'm not mistaken, and it's pretty damn ridiculous. Pretty damn ridiculous. I mean, it's the point where they actually coded their error messages. In the code, they actually give them like messages like B, look up on our help site for B or lion or all this stuff. I mean, when you've gone to that length, you know that you're doing something wrong. I would expect some cryptic error message. I would not expect something that's like, hey, we figured you might have this problem, so here, go look this up. And we're going to put a vanilla plain Jane page up there that doesn't give you a damn bit of information and doesn't help you one bit, because we are Bungie and we are allowed to screw up horribly and nobody will call us out on it. It's just, you know, I think, I given what I've seen, right, and what I've heard, I've watched some of the reviews on Destiny, and they have a lot of the criticisms that I sort of had after the end of the beta, but I was hoping that they would, you know, I kind of was quiet about it because I figured, you know, it was a beta and it was still early and maybe they would be fixing a lot of that stuff, but from what I've seen of the beta, from what I've seen of the released version, it's pretty much identical to what the beta was, which is kind of disappointing because there were quite some glaring things in there, like, you know, Peter Dinklage is very, very bored during that whole recording session. I mean, like, I thought maybe that was just the beta stuff, but no, he's actually pretty damn bored while recording those lines. He's, you know, it's you almost want to turn off all those lines in the game. It's pretty bad, and you know, I can't even get through the early missions. I'm not even on servers that, you know, I'm still in like the single player portion of the game, really. I mean, it's like, you know, it doesn't really open up until after the first 3 missions or so, or 4 missions, like in the beta, when, you know, you finally get into an open world thing and you can have all these instances and stuff. It's like, no, I'm still really pretty much in the single player story thing, and I can't even do that because the servers suck. So it's just that sort of was the one thing that sort of put me off today, which is kind of bad because I was like, you know, I thought, hey, I can go in and I can record a bunch of stuff. I got through all of Star Crusader. I finished that up. And now I have a free slot for something. I was going to maybe put Destiny in it. Well, actually, I was going to put Destiny, since it's AAA, I was going to put that on, you know, Saturdays and Mondays, like with Deus Ex. But now it's like, I can't even record it. So it's just, it's going to keep on going the way it is right now, as far as that schedule goes. But it's, yeah, I was all pumped up. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna record maybe 3 hours of stuff, and I'll have some episodes ready to go and everything else. And nope, completely demolished from the very first beginning there. So that's where I stand with Destiny there. There's also some news on Destiny. There's been a lot of news articles that have come out about the loot system in Destiny and how broken it is, where you get these, you know, engrams that are encrypted, and you know, there are certain colors, so you would expect a certain level of loot, but then you find out that no, it's just random, completely random. The colors mean nothing. And in fact, there was also a cave in the near the Cosmodrome level that people were just farming constantly and just getting all kinds of engrams out of it, just because the mobs would spawn at an increased rate there, which is kind of what I was seeing in beta a little bit. But they found that in the full release game, so Bungie's had to go through and make some mitigations around it. Namely, they released a hotfix this week, I believe, which addressed the respawning of enemies in those little loot caves, so to speak. And then there is another planned patch. It's called I think it's the 1.02 patch, which is scheduled to come, I think, next week, or well, you're seeing this on Sunday, so it'll be that week. It's supposed to go through and actually fix the engram stuff, so that the different colors will actually drop the higher level loot based upon your character and all that stuff. So and the level of the monster that you kill and all that thing. which is what it should have been in the first place. But who the hell knows what they were thinking? Other than let's rush this damn thing out the door and get it over with. So those are good changes that are coming in. I just wish that Bungie's good at two things, right? They're good at RPGs and they're good at they're good at first-person shooter RPGs that are single-player stories, right? With a multiplayer component bolted on for multiplayer maps. That is what they're good at. That's their core competency. This hybrid MMO thing, which is really just an MMO, it's not even a hybrid. It's straight out MMO thing. It was a great experiment, but stop it. just be done with it. Make Destiny a single player game and have the Crucible stuff be a bolt-on multiplayer and just be done with it. Don't stop this pseudo MMO crap where you got to be constantly connected for every little thing. It's not, you don't do it well, and you've proven that beyond a shadow of doubt that you can't handle that responsibility. So just stop. my plea to you, Bungie, is to just stop. Just go back to what you do best. Stop this nonsense. Oh, but it's harsh for me to say that because I haven't played that much of the game, because I haven't been able to play that much of the game. But I'm kind of pissed off because I put money down on it and I was able to play the beta without too many problems. I did have a few disconnects during the beta, but nothing like this. I mean, I could, you saw my footage. My footage was pretty much unedited, except for where I, died or the occasional, I think I'd only disconnected like once or twice while I was recording. But this is like, literally every 5 minutes. I just can't, you can't make any progress. It's a pain in the ass. And I was getting pissed off. I'm recording this and I'm like yelling at stuff, and I'm like, I can't ever release this recording because it's me raging at a game that is it's ass broken and shouldn't be. But it's apparently I'm in the minority though, because others have hit the level cap on it already. But I don't know what to make of that. It's very frustrating. I wanted very much to record that stuff, but it's not going to happen until they either have a massive patch where they go, oops, yeah, it turns out our servers suck, or the population on the servers dies down to the point where, normal Joes like me can actually get in there and not have a problem accessing things. So that is probably as close to hell freezing over as you can get, I would think, at this point. But that's, that is what it is. I'll link you to the Polygon article that talks about the loot system patch, and you'll find a bunch of other articles on Polygon about the various exploits people have been finding in Destiny and the problems with the loot, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that was my morning, and then I found out to my shock, I had completely lost track of Starpoint Gemini 2. Last I looked at it, they were at version 0.8, and they were still cranking along, and I completely missed the fact that they were going to release. And they did release. They released this week, a couple days ago actually, full version of Starpoint Gemini 2. So I thought, okay, well, now we've got a full release here. So let me just sit down and try to record that then, since I had such a horrible time trying to record Destiny. And all the problems that I saw in my side quest video when I looked at the alpha, still kind of there. There's still, the good things are still there, but some of the weird problems I was having are still with the interface. It's mostly interface problems. I would say it's the interface in Starpoint Gemini 2 is very busy and very it's busy, and it's also very useless in many respects. I mean, you get to see what you think you should see, as far as your skills and your perks and all that stuff. But then that radial wheel with your ship in it and all those components around it. I still haven't figured out why that's even there. I mean, that's just, it's not even necessary. It's hard to tell how much your shield you have left. I mean, they have the shield grid in your radial thing there, but it doesn't really tell you like, hey, your shields are actually okay. I mean, it's really strange. I was having some problems with the keyboard mappings as far as, you know, movement in the game and everything else. So I might have to tweak some more of that. And you know, general things like things mapped to mouse button 3, which my third mouse button has never worked in any game ever. I've never been able to get it to work any game to pick it up, so I always have to remap that. So that's not a big deal. But I was sitting down to record that, and I realized something as I was recording. First of all, I was still kind of, you know, ticked off about the Destiny thing. So my commentary wasn't the greatest. And second of all, I started getting really frustrated because everything was like, the interface wasn't making sense. I couldn't find things anymore, and not that I could find them really easily in the first one, you know, in the alpha interface. And yeah, I was just getting, my frustration level was too high, and I recorded some stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to toss all this and we'll start over again from new, just because I need to clear my mind a little bit. It was just getting me too frustrated, and I was getting, you know, I need to get a hold of it, get a grip of it. I might actually, it feels like the keyboard controls in Starpoint Gemini 2, it feels like a racing game that was optimized for analog sticks. Because when you have the digital inputs of the keyboard, unless they do interpolation of those digital signals, you'll get a whole lot of herky-jerky movement, or you'll get too much movement or not enough, and it feels bad. And when you're in a racing game, the last thing you want is for the controls to feel bad. And as far as Starpoint Gemini goes, they went from the fully mouse-driven interface that they had before, where you clicked on the screen and it moved a certain amount of, you know, however the semicircle said to move that you created by clicking on the screen. In this game, they've gone fully 3D, and they've gone like more of a fighter behind your ship view that you fly around in, which is okay. It works good for the most part. The problem is that it feels like it needs analog signals, so I might have to switch over to the gamepad, which is going to be kind of weird because one of the big problems I had while I was remapping keys is that, like, almost every key on the keyboard is apparently used by the game, because every time I try to remap a key, it's like, no, that's used by something else, and that's used by something else, and that's used by something else. I'm like, oof. So when I see a game that's heavily mapped with keys that are heavily mapped, that uses almost all the keyboard, and then it's got gamepad support, I'm like, okay, this is going to be kind of weird, because I have a feeling there's going to be instances where I need to switch back and forth between the gamepad and the actual and the keyboard for things. So that's going to be a little bit too much dexterity probably for my taste, but we'll see. I might have to do it though, because like I said, the controls are kind of very, very weird for your ship. Although I did find something that worked out a little bit better as I was continuing recording, so we'll see. Maybe I'll stick with keyboard and mouse. Maybe I'll go to the joystick. I don't know. Or not to joystick, to my 360 controller. But we'll see. We'll see. I do intend to record that as a series, because I recorded Starpoint Gemini 1. As I finished it, I got the news that Starpoint Gemini 2 was coming out, and Starpoint Gemini 1 was not the greatest of games, but I enjoyed it. And I see a lot of that in Starpoint Gemini 2, so I suspect I will enjoy SG2 as well. The challenge now, though, is, and this is kind of a weird challenge to have as a Let's Player, is that when I started out my channel, all of my videos were post-commentary. Every single one of them. Although I did them as though they were live commentary. so that you get sort of the best of both worlds, but they were all post. I just recorded footage and then I went back in and edited the footage and then rendered it and then recorded my voice while watching the video and so on and so forth. And I had, all the cuts written down on a piece of paper so I knew when to stop talking and all that stuff. That worked out really well for Starpoint Gemini 1 because there was a lot of just travel time and just dead time, just dead air between missions and a lot of grinding that I had to do that I would have done off camera anyway. So in Starpoint Gemini 2, there is still some of that. At least in the beginning of the game, there's a lot of that before you get a jump drive or and stuff like that. It's the travel time can be a little bit long. And there's no way that I can see to speed up time either. So there's going to end up being lots of cuts in it to begin with. And I'm kind of wondering, because that sort of throws me off a little bit as far as, when should I talk about things? When should I not talk about things? When should I stay quiet so that when I edit this, I don't have to, I don't feel guilty about editing out something that I was talking about that's, I want to continue talking about. So I might actually, and this is going to be the weird thing, I might go back to a post commentary on that, record the footage and then go and record my audio afterwards after I've done all the editing. I might just do that. I don't know. The reason I stopped doing a lot of post commentary, I still do some. I mean, I'm not going to name any names, but I still do some post commentary on my channel. But the reason I stopped was because it's really almost triple the work. And I say triple the work because you record all the footage, then you edit it, then you have to write down all of the places where you render it. You write down all the places where you edit it. Then you watch the rendered footage back. Then you put your sound back in there. You might edit it again, your voiceover. You might edit it again and render it again. So it's kind of like triple the amount of steps. Whereas when you record live commentary, assuming you can, you just go through and you watch it once and that you make your cuts and then bing bam boom, you render it once and you're done. And you don't have to. It doesn't hang over your head as something you need to do additional. But I don't know. It's a difficult one. I'll have to see. I'll probably start it as a live commentary thing. I just have to be mindful as I'm going through of where I'm probably going to cut cut things in there, cut some of the dead space between, while you're traveling to missions, and then and just sort of focus myself around that, and maybe I can do it. We'll see. That would certainly save me time. It would save me lots of time, actually. Because back when I was doing Starpoint Gemini 1, I wasn't doing a video every day. I was just doing videos on the weekends, so Saturdays and Sundays. So I had all week to sort of just re-record my voice and do all the editing and all that stuff. Now I don't have that. I don't really have that luxury. Kind of do, kind of don't. So doing the live commentary is almost sort of a requirement anymore for me because of all the series I have running and everything else. And believe you me, there's a school of thought that says I should probably cull down my number of series to something a little bit more manageable, like 3 or 4. But to be honest, I have so many games on my mind that I want to record that doing that would not be very practical for me personally, because these things, they work on my brain. I'm like, oh, I really want to go back and start recording Startopia, or oh, I really want to go back and start recording Away Team, Star Trek Away Team, which I really do actually. Or oh, I want to record Sunless Sea, or oh, I want to record Starpoint Gemini 2, or oh, I want to record Rise, Son of Rome, maybe, possibly at some point. I want to record Forza Horizon 2, which I just pre-ordered. but is that coming out this month or October? I don't remember. It said the 30th, I believe. I don't know if it was the 30th of this month or the 30th of October, but whatever. Anyway, sidetracked. Yeah, all these things are on my brain, and I want to record, and they don't go away. They keep yelling at me constantly. You must go back and play Salt. You must go back and play. Well, I've never really wanted to play Terraria on as a recording because Terraria was okay, but I never really got into it that well. But Kerbal Space Program and all these things. My Steam library is riddled with things. I have a whole category of like things I must record, things I probably should record, and then I got like indie games, AAA games, and then just junk bundle games that I will never play, like some puzzle games that you get in like the humble bundles and stuff that you're like, yeah, I don't play puzzle games, so but there are other games in the bundle that I wanted, so oh well, I guess I got a puzzle game now. So that's I will be doing Starpoint Gemini 2. I just got to get myself back into the mindset and figure out how I'm going to approach the recordings of it. So, and that game, since there is so much downtime, that game's going to take me, I'm going to probably record about, 6 or 7 or 8 episodes of that first before I start actually releasing them, because that's I want to get a head start on that, because there is a lot of, I remember from the first game that there was a lot of grinding, and I want to have the series be continuous. I don't want to have to break it off in the middle and say, oh wait, I gotta go grind for 20 hours here, so for money, for cash. And there's already some of that, little bit of that grindiness in here where you got to do all the side missions, which is really what it comes down to. Is the side missions are fun, but there wasn't enough variety of them, so they end up becoming so repetitive that it's like, oh, I just got to do these off camera. I'll just do these off camera, and then I'll just focus on the main missions, which is what I ended up doing in Starpoint Gemini 1, because every side mission was like, there's only 4 types, and they just got so repetitive after the first time doing it that it's like, okay, I can't subject anybody else to this torture. I must do this. I must endure this myself. Oh, and a few other things I have here on my list, but before I get to my list, I want to talk about some more things that I've been looking at on the channel and looking to possibly do recordings of. Obviously, I finished up Star Crusader, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. So that frees up that time slot for something else. And that's usually that's the Tuesday, Thursday time slot, which is usually my indie time slot. But for some reason, at one point in time, I just did, Star Crusader on those days. And that's really a AAA title, but it's so old now that, who would know anymore? Yeah, I do want to get back to the indie titles on those days. Try to, because I also didn't want to do Starpoint Gemini 2, I didn't want to do Star Crusader on the weekends with bookmarking Deus Ex Human Revolution and all that stuff, because there's a huge quality difference there. So that's why I didn't want to do that. Plus, it's so close to other things I've done, like Ethereum, which is indie, and the Wing Commander Saga, which also is indie, that I felt like it should probably sit there. But yeah, that was probably not the best choice of where to schedule that. But now that that slot is open, I have some ideas of what I want to put in there. I just haven't quite figured out what yet. I have been looking at, I've heard a lot of good things about the Banner Saga, which is a indie. It's kind of old. It's been out for about I'd say a year or two now. Maybe, no, probably just a year. And it's a RPG, tactical RPG, like what you would expect. It's close to Transistor in mechanics, but it's completely different story and completely different setting and different way of doing things. And I've played a little bit of it. I heard good things about it, so I went off and played just a little bit of it just to get a feel for it, to see if it'd be something that I'd want to record. And I think it would. I think it is worthy of being recorded. I think it is something that I can get enough enjoyment out of that we can see some of that. So that's one contender. There's another contender that I actually started recording today. That might actually be the thing that takes over for now. But we'll see. And that is the First Templar. This game, I don't even know how I heard about this game. I was reading some random, I guess, Reddit thread somewhere or some forum thread or something like that, and someone mentioned this game, and it was out on Steam. It's been out for years. I think it was released in 2010 or something like that, and it's an indie game. It's by Calypso, so I'm pretty sure it's an indie game, because that's what it sounds like anyway. And it's interesting in that, it didn't get, as far as I know, I haven't seen anybody play it. It was just something that was just completely random that somebody mentioned on a thread, and I was like, oh, let me go look at that. And I looked at videos of it, and I'm like, the graphics are dated. Well, the engine is dated. The story doesn't sound all that compelling necessarily. But what I heard from the thread was that it's got really good fluid motion, like gameplay mechanics. So I thought, oh, well, let me just see, because visuals aren't everything, and story is not necessarily everything either. I mean, the game is meant to be fun, and the best way to have a fun game is to have good mechanics, right? So I picked it up. I think it was only like $10 or something like that. I don't even remember at this point. And I just started looking at it, and I was like, this is not half bad. And so after a day I've had of lack of success in recording things, I thought, like, let me just go do this, because this has been on my mind. I played a little bit off camera a few days ago, and it sort of stuck in my mind, like, hey, this is actually not quite bad. I mean, the motion in this is actually pretty good. So I decided to just pull the trigger and start recording that today, so I at least get some feat of accomplishment out of my recording today, and it's actually not half bad. It's the visuals, as I said, are dated. It's not the most visually appeasing thing that you'll ever see. Not horrible, but it's also not very polished either. And the story is it is what it is. I mean, it's a lot like Mirror's Edge in that it's there just to give you a reason to go to various locales and not much else, and it serves its purpose from that perspective. But I'm playing it a little bit, and I really like it. The controls on it are actually really solid. There's some mechanics in it too, like with the leveling up system, which I'll talk about in my actual recording, that are actually fantastic. Very good ideas there, as far as like, hey, we want you to be playing the game, not playing the menus, right? I mean, you get so many of these RPGs and action games that are like, oh, hey, you just collected this weapon. Here, go into your ragdoll now and go and equip it. And oh, here's all your inventory, and go find it through your inventory. You're digging through inventory, and you're, equipping things in ragdolls, and you're repairing items and all. And it's just like, this was supposed to be an action RPG, right? Why am I spending all my time in a freaking menu? Why am I not actioning things? And this game actually, I think took that to heart and was like, hey, you know what? We're going to streamline all these mechanics to the point where like you can just jump in for like 2 minutes into a menu, jump back out, and you're back in the action. No big deal. You know, it's like, hey, that's actually not a bad idea. That's pretty good. So you'll get to see some of that in action. That might actually be the thing that takes over the Tuesday and Thursday slot. I have to do a little bit of research first before I can commit to that, because I don't know. You know, I went and recorded stuff and I didn't do my due diligence and see if, you know, the company that made it actually is okay with Let's Players doing stuff on YouTube. Most of them are, particularly if they're indie developers, but I always like to make sure first, and I tend to look at other YouTubers, you know, experiences with the game to see if they've had a lot of claims with their YouTube videos. And honestly, I haven't looked up any YouTube videos of this game, so I don't even know if anybody has done it on YouTube or not. So that's another thing I want to take a look at. Also, there's so many games on my back catalog that I need to revisit as well. I know Adventure Manager's probably made a lot of progress since the last time I looked at it. I would like to get back into that. I've been playing actually Star Realms, which was the the deck building game that was on the Android devices and iOS and now is on PC. I've been playing a lot of that just on my own, you know, on the side. I don't know that anybody would like to watch me play that anymore, because I am pretty darn bad at the game, unless I do like, because I'm a good portion of the way through the campaign. I could, I suppose, play some, you know, multiplayer on that, but from what I've heard, it's kind of hit or miss trying to find an open match for the game, because it is kind of an outlier as far as some of that goes. But you know, whatever. That's another thing. I want to focus some more, not focus, but I want to get another mobile game going that I'm recording from my Android device, because I feel I miss it, you know, and it does add variety to the channel. Apparently, lots of people have looked at my Sortigo stuff that I did. Mostly the last episode, I'm assuming, because they're all scratching their heads like, how the hell do you beat this freaking game? And all I can say to that is it took 3 weeks and finding a bug in the AI for the final boss for me to beat it. Otherwise, I would never have had a finale episode of that series. So I do want to continue to dig into that, and I get a lot of tweets from mobile developers. I guess because they've noticed that I've done some recordings from mobile devices, and very few people actually do that. So they're, you know, I get pinged a bit on Twitter about things, you know, hey, you know, I get the random follows, you know, and I do look up all those things to see, hey, what's this? What are they? What game are they hawking? What game are they hawking? And a lot of times that's how I find some of these games too, is that I get a random follow somewhere along the way. I just the problem that I've run into with a lot of the mobile games is that they are fun games for yourself when you're trying to kill some time. They're not necessarily fun games to watch someone else play. And I think I've mentioned this once before, and that's really been the difficult barometer of trying to find games, is that a lot of them just are not, you know, they're fun to play, they're just not fun to watch somebody else play. Sortigo is one of those games that was like, yeah, this is actually kind of fun to watch somebody else play it. It would be even more fun if that person that played it actually was a good commentator and not me. But yeah, that's you know, I can see that. I can see the appeal of that. It's just it's hard to find that. It's hard to find that medium, and a lot of times when you do find a game that it would be fun for other people to watch, it's also got a PC version that's superior to it. And it's like, well, okay, let me just play it on the PC because it's a lot easier than hooking up my recording software or my recording hardware and everything else to get that. I can leave that plugged into the Xbox One. Speaking of which, I am seriously thinking of expanding my library as far as Xbox One goes. I've already pre-ordered Forza Horizon 2. I didn't play Forza Horizon. I did watch Vintage Beef play it, and I liked what I saw there. I've also been watching him play Forza Horizon 2, which is not out yet. It's pre-ordered still. But I'm watching him play that, and it looks like a lot of fun. It looks very close to Burnout Paradise in many respects. And I love Burnout Paradise. I played a little bit of Burnout Paradise on my live stream. I kind of regret not doing that as a full Let's Play. It's maybe I'll do that at some point. I don't know. It's a rough one because I've played that game through and through, and I mean, there's still. I was surprised in my live stream to find that there were still some online matches going on. Like there's still people playing it online. But I don't know. It's a rough one. It's a rough one in my mind as to whether or not I could do it any justice by playing it as a Let's Play. However, that being said, I guess that's why I'm leaning towards Forza Horizon 2, because A, it's new and shiny, and B, it'll be a good test for me to see if I can do those kinds of games and make them somewhat interesting, and I don't feel like I gotta throw footage away. Right? We'll see. Plus, I've got the Xbox One now, and I'm waiting for most of the games to come in that I've pre-ordered, but I have a lot of games that I'm going to be getting a lot more use out of it, I think, in the coming months and years, probably. It's a toss-up between that and also Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor, which I keep hearing very good things about that. Very, very good things about that. So I'm really psyched up about that. That is coming. That is actually coming out the 30th of September, I think. Or maybe October 1st, I think that's coming out. Because I have it on order. I have it on pre-order. It's not going to get to me, according to Amazon, it's not going to get to me until like between the 6th and the 10th is the shipping estimate. So because I cheaped out and went free shipping, which is like the 5 to 8 days. And Amazon is usually actually pretty accurate about that, from what I've seen in the past. So it'll take a little while. Everybody's going to get their first chops in on Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor, and then I will probably come in after that. But from what I hear, it's a rather fantastic game, and I'm hoping that it is, because I think it's got a nice feel to it. I also, I've also been thinking of, maybe doing one of the Elder Scrolls games. I keep getting, every so often someone will ask me like, hey, why don't you play Skyrim? And I've always been on the fence about Skyrim. I love the hell out of Oblivion. I still have Oblivion on my 360. I've played through many, many hours of that game. I actually have all the expansions for it too, because I got, I think, the Game of the Year edition or whatever it was. But I never actually played the expansions for it, the Shivering Isles and the Council of Three or whatever it was. I forget what it was. I had started to, and then I lost interest and went, as I tend to do, and other things came up, and I wanted to go do other things. But I love the heck out of that game. It is very grindy at the beginning when you're at the beginning of the story, and the middle of the story, when Oblivion gates keep popping up all over the damn place and just wrecking your day. And I did do the full long grind when you had to go through like, I think it was like 20 or 30 planes of Oblivion and collect some MacGuffin, and then once you did that, it made one of the final battles a lot easier because you had more troops to support you, something like that. It was grindy. I did I did exploit the way the XP system in that, or the way the leveling system in that works, which is everything is reduced in level to your level. So I just went to, like, when I was doing the story, I just leveled up to level 9, and then I just kept, and I didn't level up my character anymore after that. So every time I was still collecting experience and I was still dinging, but I wasn't actually, processing those levels like you do. You say, hey, here's my actual level up. So the game still thought I was level 9, so I went through the rest of the story missions as level 9 because they were a lot easier than having leveled up the whole way through, because of the planes of Oblivion and all that stuff. So I would love to go back and probably relive that game, maybe possibly play it on PC, and put some mods in it. But as far as Skyrim goes, here's my big problem with that. Skyrim is, and I had this problem with Morrowind as well. Those games they're too gray for me. I don't know why. You feel like, I'm sure Shadows of Mordor is probably going to be a very gray game as well. But those games in particular were just, Skyrim, every time I look at Skyrim, I'm like, man, it is so damn ugly. I mean, I'm sure there's nice vistas around there, but it's just like, it's very depressingly ugly in many spots. And that's sort of what gets me. It's like, I don't really like the depressing visual games. I prefer sort of the happier colors. Like Oblivion, to me, even though you had the Oblivion gates and you had some, dark corridors and dark, ruins that you would go through, you could always come back up to the surface and you'd be in this just beautiful, beautiful Tamriel, just walking around like, hey, this is awesome. Like, look at the sky, everything, you got all these beautiful flowers everywhere and trees, and there's a lot of green. There was very little brown and gray. It was all like green and awesome and lush. And that, to me, that brightened my day every time I played the game. It's like, oh, okay, I just fought a bunch of skeletons, and I'm kind of feeling down. I've been seeing a lot of dirt and ugliness, and then you come out into the world and you walk around or ride around on your mount, and it's like, oh, this is so beautiful. This world is terrific. It's great. And I, from the videos that I've watched of people who play Skyrim, I don't see that at all, really. It just looks depressing and just ugly. The same thing with Dark Souls too. Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, it's like they both seem like they're very depressing games. Very ugly from, well, maybe not ugly from the visual perspective, but very depressing from the visual perspective, and to me anyway. And that just turns me off for some reason. I don't know why. I kind of like something that has a little bit of a dichotomy. I don't mind it from time to time, but I do like to be able to go topside or go to a surface and just, be able to walk through a meadow or something, something a little bit different. I guess that's also why I sort of don't do a whole lot of the post-apocalyptic stuff, like the Borderlands and the I guess Borderlands is not technically post-apocalyptic, but it's close enough. And oh God, what's the other one? I can't think of the name of it. I can't think of the name of it now, but I think you guys understand what I mean. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel on that subject. As far as what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to have that one go, and then I want to get some more mobile stuff going. I have an idea for another mobile game that I might want to play. It's going to require a lot of editing because there's a lot of downtime in it. But I think that'll just be, I think it'll be good enough that you'll want to watch it. I think it's something that you might want to watch. And it's sci-fi and it's right up my alley. So we'll see. So that's what I got on that. Now, some other things going on. Steam has had a bunch of changes that they've implemented recently, namely around discovery and curation. And basically what this means is, as we've all known, as we've all seen in the past, they've been doing this green light stuff, and there's a lot of games on their front page, and it's very hard to find good stuff, and it's just it's kind of a mess. Their search is what it is, and it's just hard to see things and draw attention to certain things. And slowly but surely, Steam's been adding a lot of, or Valve has been adding a lot to Steam as far as being able to tag things and community tagging and more community features. And what they've done just this week is they've unleashed this Steam Discovery, which allows just regular old Joes like you and me to curate certain games on the service and sort of give our thumbs up to those games. And then people can follow you on there and see, oh, okay, this is some of the games that this person recommends. This is what they're looking for. This is the category and all that stuff. And that helps them then make informed choices on Steam as to what they feel like they should do next. And then, of course, the top curators, which will all be, pretty much YouTubers and big magazines, because they already have the audience. They'll show up on the Steam services home pages and stuff. It sounds like a good idea. There's an article in Polygon where they talked to a lot of indie devs about it, and quite a few of the indie devs have come back and said, hey, they've seen noticeable changes in traffic, a noticeable uptick in traffic to their store pages, thanks to this curation stuff now. It's a really good idea. It's really cool. I have decided to try and throw my hat into the ring there, and try to become a Steam curator. It requires 10. I have to curate 10 games on Steam before I can even become a public curator. And I have a group. I just created a group and all that stuff. I created the side quests group, and I think though. And I'm not sure quite how it works out. I haven't done anything yet with that group. I just created it and then created a shell, and then I just okay, I gotta sit down and take some time and read and see how this actually works, because I'm hoping it's more like a rating system, and less of a thumbs up, thumbs down, and more of a rating system where I can just say, hey, I give this 4 stars out of 5, and then here's my review of why I give it 4 stars out of 5. I don't know if you do that or not. I don't know if that's how it works yet. I haven't dug in enough to see if that's actually how it works. I'm hoping that's how it does work, because I would like to do long form write-ups on, well, maybe not long form, but I would like to do actual write-ups on some of the games that I've played. I sort of started to do that a little bit on howlongtobeat.com or whatever it is. But I haven't been back to it in a while, and it's just, I need to, it's another thing that takes time. It takes time to sit there and write up these, things and say, here's what I liked and here's what I didn't like and all that stuff. But hopefully I can get, some time to do that and take a look at it and see how it works. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to kind of make it I'll have to see how it works, but I'm going to try to make it a very targeted thing where, my side quest videos, they're kind of all over the place. I kind of just pick up things that I like, that I think are pretty good, and I do a sort of first look on them. My personal first look on them. The side quests thing that I'm going to do on Steam, hopefully, if it works this way, is I'm going to just sort of focus on. I'm going to try to focus on games that have good secondary stories and or mechanics that make them fun to play or replay, as it were. I think I've told this story once before. I worked with a guy who I think Mass Effect had come out at the time. I think it was Mass Effect 2, and I had pre-ordered it and he had pre-ordered it. And I think the 2 days after it came out, he asked me, he's like, "Hey, how far along have you gone?" I'm like, I haven't really gotten that far. I'm doing, I've only gotten this far. And he's like, "Oh yeah." And so I asked him and he's like, "Oh, I beat it already." I'm like, "Well, what, how how do you beat something like that fast?" And he's like, "Well, I go through and I just play the main story quests. And then after I've beaten the entire game, then I come back in, and if I liked what I saw, I'll play some of the side quests." I'm like, well, that's weird, but okay, if that's the way you do things. I mean, you're going to miss out. A lot of games cause you to miss out on side quests if you don't take them. Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut, damn you. But yeah, I mean, if that's the way you want to play it, then hey, more power to you. But that kind of gave me an idea for like a Steam Curator thing where I'm going to try to look at games from the perspective of, if I take the main story out of there, does it have compelling content beyond the main story? Does it have good side quests that make you coming back for more? Does it have, maybe not necessarily look at multiplayer stuff, but that might be something I kind of factor in. I don't know. I don't really play that many multiplayer games, so I can't really factor that in too much. But I sort of want to do it. I sort of want to make it like a very targeted thing and see if it makes... Because there's going to be a lot of sites that just do this general thing, like, here's all the things that we ever thought of that we want to say about. And I kind of want to make it like sort of zero in on some little aspect that I think is kind of cool and neat. So that's my idea. That's what I'm thinking of. The group that I created is called Side Quest. You're not going to be able to see it yet. Well, you'll be able to see the group on Steam, but you won't be able to see any curated stuff yet because I haven't actually curated anything yet. And I think you have to curate 10 before it becomes public or something like that. So, and I just have to see what that entails. I'm hoping, as I said, that it entails a rating plus a review. They did mention something about you can link videos in, which would be kind of nice if I have a video to link in for some of that stuff. Yeah, that's. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I am jumping on the bandwagon. I've already seen that there quite a few others have as well. So I'm not the first there, but I will be on there hopefully at some point soon. So. What else on my list here? Some more Kickstarter, some more crowdfunding woes, I would say, have come out this week. So I've already talked at length about the Yogventures stuff, how that basically was a big cluster fuck of things. And their backup plan was to offer, the original Yogventures game ended up, they ran out of money and couldn't continue development. And so to try to appease the Kickstarter backers that backed them and all the crowdfunding, they started offering, Tug as the game Tug. This is literally the game's name. It's Tug. TUG. Start offering that as a mea culpa and hopefully as the spiritual successor, if you will, to the Yogventure stuff, as a way to sort of say, here's something that we also think should be good. Well, it turns out that Tug now is in financial trouble, the developers of that. They have culled half their staff, giving them their walk-in papers because they are running very, very low on money. They were apparently looking to, as many crowdfunded games do, they often crowdfund to get investors interested, to say, hey, look, we've got an actual interest from people. They've put money down on this. And then they try to get the rest of their funding from investors. The problem with trying to get your funding from investors is that, well, they want a piece of your ass. Literally. I mean, they want to be involved in your company, in the day-to-day operations of it. It's very hard to find an angel investor that's kind of like, hey, here's some money, go off and do your thing. Most of the time, it's VCs who want control. The venture capitalists, they want control of stuff. That they are control freaks. So it's apparently they were trying in January to get some additional funding, and the investor that was interested wanted to be owner of their company, or wanted an ownership stake in their company, or something very similar to that. And they wanted to stay, developers wanted to stay independent. And so they turned down that funding, and now they're hurting. They're hurting big time. So we'll see what happens with that. There's no additional information on that, but I can only imagine the the crap storm that can happen if this also fails horribly. It's already, people are saying that the Yogscast is the poison that the poison pill for games, every game that they touch. So we'll see if that is actually the case or not. Hopefully everything works out well for all the people who have put their money down on this. I'll link you guys to the Rock Paper Shotgun article that talks a little bit about it, but there's precious little information on what's happening and what's going on. So just keep your eyes and ears peeled as always. Along with the Steam curation stuff, Steam also introduced a music player into the Steam service, which allows you to stream through the Steam overlay, stream any audio from your computer that you like to, or you can also buy soundtracks to the games and whatnot that are out there. The soundtrack albums that you can buy on Steam, you'll be able to see there as purchases. So that I was waiting for that to happen. It seems like the logical next step that they should take, because there are people like me who enjoy very, very much soundtracks for games. Along that same lines, Destiny has just released the soundtrack, or Bungie, I should say, has just released the soundtrack for Destiny as well. You can pick that up on iTunes. So I don't think that's on Steam, but you can probably pick it up on iTunes. I know for a fact on that. It's like $10 or so. And if one of the redeeming qualities of Destiny is the music. Everything else, you can say whatever you want about everything else, but the music is actually rather fantastic in that game. So if you're a fan of video game soundtracks and music, I would suggest these are good times for you. Steam is supporting things now, and now the Destiny soundtrack has been released. I listen to them a lot when I'm at work because I like music without words, but that is me. Anywho, I think that will do it for this week of Cube Ramblings. Thanks very much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next Sunday.